Well, good Tuesday morning, everybody, and welcome back to another daily devotion. This is the devotion for Tuesday, September 22nd. Today, we're going to jump into the sixth chapter of Luke's Gospel. Yesterday, we wrapped up the fifth chapter of this Gospel, and we left off talking about the question about fasting. Jesus was eating with some of the tax collectors at Matthew's home, and talking about why are you not fasting? Why are you eating and drinking and all of that? So we're going to continue on in the vein of Jesus being questioned about things, and we're moving in today where we have a couple of days in a row here where he's being attacked, for want of a better word, or quizzed about the way that he's dealing with the Sabbath and some events on the Sabbath. So today we are going to look at verses 1 through 5 in the sixth chapter. So we are in Luke's Gospel, chapter 6, verses 1 to 5. All right? So let's jump right into it and get this going. It's going to be a busy day today. I'm getting ready for a vacation next week, and so I'm trying to get the devotions all recorded ahead of time, and I've got a ministerial meeting and some other things. So let's jump right into chapter 6, verses 1 to 5. One Sabbath, while Jesus was going through the grain fields, his disciples plucked some heads of grain, rubbed them in their hands, and ate them. But some of the Pharisees said, "Why are you doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" Jesus answered, "Have you not read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God and took and ate the bread of the presence, which is not lawful for any but the priest to eat, and gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, 'The Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath.'" Okay, so it's a Sabbath morning. Apparently, they're walking along and they're picking some grains in the field. Which, for us in the Midwest, and we go, "Wait a minute, what do you mean?" And we can first of all, I think most all of us farm kids can envision and can remember taking heads of wheat, especially rubbing them in your hands and then eating some of the grain. I can remember doing that as a kid back on the farm. But the thing about this is, like, what are they doing? They're picking grain out of somebody else's field. What's up with that? That just seems really foreign to us here in the Midwest. Well, part of what they were supposed to do as a charity for others, they were supposed to leave a section of the field, usually near the edge of the field, unharvested, so that the poor could come along and glean some of the grain. And that's mentioned in other places in Scripture. This isn't the only place this pops up, but that was part of what they were required to do as landowners and farmers. So that was a act of charity to allow people to have some way to go out and get some meager sustenance. So they're walking along on a Sabbath. Now that's interesting in and of itself. One of the things that there are limits on what you can and can't do on the Sabbath. There's a limit on how far you can walk on the Sabbath. In Omaha, the Orthodox Jews still abide by that. And one of the ironic things to us, seems weird to us, the Orthodox Jews believe that driving a car is work, so you can't do that. But you can walk a certain distance, and I believe it's a mile. Roughly a mile. It's probably not in imperial standards, but roughly you can walk a mile. And so the people that were Orthodox Jews would have to live within that distance from the synagogue, so that on Sabbath day, which is from sundown on Friday night till sundown on Saturday night, that period of time on Friday evening to Saturday is the Sabbath for the Jewish people. During that period of time, they had to go to the synagogue, but they had to walk, rain or shine, snow or whatever. Couldn't drive. Yes, it seems to us that driving is much less work than walking a mile, but such is not the case. So you would see in Omaha some people walking to synagogue, because synagogue was at that time down on Pacific Street. This makes a big controversy if you try to move the synagogue, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden you may not be able to walk, and you're going to have to move. Any rate, back to the topic at hand. So they're walking through the fields and they're gleaning some food. Well, that act of harvesting is considered work, and so they're working on the Sabbath. That's one of those things. They came up with ideas about that was one of the difficult things. They had to constitute what is and what isn't work. One of the interesting things when we were in Israel, on Sabbath, on Saturday, and actually Friday night and Saturday lunch, you didn't have any Jewish people working in the service industry, serving the food, or even cooking, because it was not lawful for them to be involved in that. So you had the Christians and the Muslims predominantly in there. You might have a few secular Jews that weren't practicing any of the laws, but that was what it was. So you had kind of a different crew working on the Sabbath day. At any rate, so Jesus is being confronted about this, that this gleaning, this rubbing their hands together to get some of the grain, is constituting work, and he's questioning them, and the rebuttal that he gives them, he quotes scripture to them, and he's quoting from what we find in 1 Samuel chapter 21, but he doesn't quote it exactly the way it is there, because when you read it in 1 Samuel, you don't really get a clear indication that David has men with him. It looks more to me like David's kind of all by himself. So it's interesting that it says it, and he did when he and his companions were hungry. So there may have been some oral tradition about that existed at the time. At any rate, I digress. So he comes back and says that it's the man. Jesus is the Son of Man, is Lord of the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not Lord of God. God is the Lord of the Sabbath, and he's basically excusing them to be able to gain enough sustenance to survive physically on the Sabbath. That is certainly not above what is dictated. But it is an interesting passage. It's kind of based off of if you remember in the story of the Israelites in the desert during the Exodus, they are wandering in the wilderness, and the manna is coming down, and they get a double portion on Friday, right? And they're supposed to collect a double portion, and that's what sustains them. And miracle of miracles, that any other time if they harvested too much, it would spoil. But that day it would keep until the Sabbath was over, which is one of the more interesting things about that, to me anyway. But why is that? That's a miracle, and it was. So, at any rate, Jesus is excusing their actions, basically saying that you don't let the Sabbath become a burden to your survival. And the Jews actually went so far as, not only could they not cook, they couldn't light a fire. They couldn't light a fire to keep warm, much less cook. So they would hire Gentile or Christians to come in and light the fires in their homes, and perhaps to come in and cook for them on the Sabbath day. So, at any rate, this is the first of 2 days where we're dealing with Sabbath laws. So I'm going to leave this unfinished, and more to come tomorrow. We'll finish the rest of the thought tomorrow. I could have kept this all as one, but I broke it in two for whatever reason. Why do I do anything I do? Who knows? So we'll finish this thought tomorrow. So I'm going to leave you on a cliffhanger. So tomorrow we will see you here. 9 o'clock in the morning. All right. Have a blessed day. Enjoy it. It's a little steamy out there right at the moment. At least it feels that way to me. But please be a blessing to someone today. And we'll talk tomorrow about the man with the withered hand. Okay. Bye-bye.